So tonight we're going to start off with Corey, and then move on to Dennis.
Mike, hello. Hey, I just wanted the mic. I missed it. Or I'm just going to set him up on the mic. We forgot to do that, and then I'll get the volume turned up. So just give us 30 seconds here.
Kick him off the floor, and then he's already trying to get back to it.
Give you a little intro about myself before I jump into things. Grew up, born and raised in Los Angeles, moved out to Utah about 6 months ago. Very, very, very beautiful state and city. Happy to be here, it's awesome. I've got 10 years of experience in advertising, worked at Yahoo, small agencies, mostly in direct response. A lot of my career has been around analysis, and I think that's what's led me out here to Utah to work for a company called Molio. If you're not familiar, it's in Bluffdale. It's a creative and analytics agency. So really merging the two together, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about what we do. In 2016, I managed 1.75 billion impressions, 395 million views, and across over 40 advertisers. So I've got some really good experience when it comes to YouTube and how it really works and how to really make the best bang for your buck when it comes to advertisers. So I'm just going to walk you through what I'm going to walk you through. So again, I'm going to start first by giving you just a download on the TrueView ad format and how it works. Next, we're going to hack the platform in 3 different ways. We're going to talk about creative, next targeting, and then after that a little bit about the biddable environment. And if I have enough time, we can maybe go through a few extra things that I think are really important. First, I want to talk to you guys about YouTube and why it's so important. It's growing like crazy. You've got a lot of people transitioning from TV. Sure. Is that good? Sorry about that, guys. So the reason why YouTube has grown so much is because, you're seeing that TV isn't what we want. When we watch TV, we find it, we very quickly, jump to our cell phones or jump to another media, right? When it comes to YouTube, we have more opportunities, whether that's the skip button or just, no ads at all. And so you're seeing a huge shift when it comes to TV over to YouTube. And if you look at the chart to the right, you can see that, even millennials aren't even skipping the ads because they do make sense to people. Now, the explanation and value of TrueView, I think, is important for this entire conversation of what I'm going to walk you through. So first, the big thing to understand about TrueView, as you guys have seen with YouTube, is that you can skip after 5 seconds. But most importantly for an advertiser, you don't pay until after 30. So you've got a huge window to really brand yourself. And it's a huge opportunity for advertisers to take advantage of it. Not to mention, another key piece of the TrueView environment is the fact that it's an auction-based platform and you're bidding against the competition. So again, biddable environment, skip button at 5, and advertiser doesn't pay until after 30. Now, let me give you an example of why this is important. If you've got the 5-second skip button, and you've got the 30-second, anything after a view you have to pay for, you get what's called the most valuable impression on the web, and that's the one you don't pay for, right? 0 to 29 seconds. A huge opportunity for any advertiser to get their brand in front of somebody for free. And so, the thing that I think is most important about the TrueView platform is what's called the view rate. So let's do a little math real quick. If you've got 1 million impressions and you've got 200,000 views and you cut those between each other, you've got a 20% view rate. The average view rate on YouTube is 21%. So if your view rate is higher, YouTube looks at your ad as, oh, it's more relevant, and so therefore your costs are cheaper, right? And if your view rate is lower, 10, 15%, YouTube wants to increase your cost because it's not as relevant. Why is this important? Because the difference between a 1 cent cost per view and a 2 cent cost per view is enormous, especially when you're spending at scale, like a lot of the advertisers that I work with. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is creative. And we're going to talk about long form, value creation, and really filtering for quality. So the reason why YouTube is great for advertisers is for long form. Long form inventory is very hard to find across the web, and especially at scale, right? You're able to scale on YouTube with a long format video better than anywhere else. And the reasons are is because you can analyze data across a lot of key creative metrics. And those metrics are view rate, watch time, and percentage of video viewed, all which goes into a quality score for video. In addition to that, you have click type opportunities, annotations, cards, end screens. If you've been on YouTube, you've seen these things. YouTube is continuing to modify its platform so that it pushes users off and gets them to convert elsewhere. And then your creative RTBs, your reasons to believe, those are the things about your product or service that matter to a consumer. And again, YouTube is becoming so much of a, what I'm looking for is, product finder, like a way to find products. And so it's a great place to have long form with a lot of reasons to believe about your specific product. But let's jump into the next slide where we talk about the YouTube ad timeline. So this is something that was created at my company to really show potential advertisers how that first 30 seconds might look, right? So you can hook them in the first 5, right? So make sure they can't skip. You then engage the audience, illustrate the problem, and then now establish your brand. But most importantly, qualify that user before 30 seconds. Now, why do you want to qualify the user before 30 seconds? Because you only pay after 30 seconds, right? But you still want a huge opportunity in that first 30 to brand, educate, and solve that problem for that user. And then you can rehook them and then walk through all the reasons to believe. A big point that I like to make to all advertisers in this group here is that if you're going to run TrueView ads, please do not take your TV spot and just put it on YouTube. Create a new spot. Create something that educates, entertains, or inspires the user, because it is vastly important. That's what people come to YouTube for. They come to YouTube to be educated, they come to YouTube to be entertained, and they come to YouTube to be inspired. Now, to back up a lot of what I say, I created a few case studies in here. I'm sorry you guys are going to have to deal with a few charts, but I think it's important in putting the proof to the pudding. So, in this first case study, we looked at a leading oral care brand, and what their primary KPI was CTR. And the big thing that they were trying to understand was, okay, based on these 2 different actors, and based on 2 different versions of the creative, as well as the 2 different products that they were promoting, how do people react to this? And what we found is that when you compare both of these actors, Alyssa and John, Alyssa has a 0.97 CTR versus a 0.57 for John. That's a pretty significant increase and something we noticed right away. Now, you can also say that the view rate is also different at 35% versus 30%. However, we couldn't see the effect of the cost, which is both at a 5-cent cost per view. Now, next we'll look at the versions, right? We've got 2 different versions here, funny and normal. And what we found is that normal also comes in at a higher CTR versus the funny version. So if you do a little bit of math and you take Alyssa and you times it by normal, you can get some pretty good results and change the game pretty quickly. So we also took a look at the product comparison, which was brush and floss. And what we found is the results are fairly similar across the board. CTR, view rate, CPC, CPV, all your performance metrics are fairly similar. And so to really improve performance, we went with Alyssa and normal. And here's what we find, is that you can see from week 3 to week 4, and from week 4 to week 7, look very different than weeks 1 to week 3. And that's because of the changes we've made. And so it's taking creative data and really improving a campaign without ever touching the AdWords system. And that's what I really want to get across to everybody, is that you can literally improve performance without ever touching AdWords by just modifying and testing the creative. Because we made these changes, we saw a 43% decrease in CPC, a 63% increase in CTR from weeks 3 to 4. We averaged over a 1% CTR from weeks 4 to 7, and that was a 65% improvement from weeks 1 to 3. Dramatic differences in performance. And again, when I talk about long form, these are 2 of the longest ads we've ever run, 18 minutes and 10 minutes. and you had 5% of the users stay to the end of the video. Next, I want to talk about another case study, which is a predominant coupon app, because I know we talked about vanity CTR metrics, but this has more to do with conversions, which I think is also important from a creative standpoint. So the client wanted to go with family and personal because they thought, you know, parents were the target and they wanted to reach a specific audience. And we as a company at Molio said, we'll pay for it, but we want to do an additional version. We want to do the social version, right? And so in doing this, what we found is that family and personal have much higher CTRs. They have a better view rate. But when you look at the click to install ratio, social is twice as better as family and personal. And what that did was had a huge impact on the CPI, the cost per install, at $10 versus $18 for both family and personal. Again, variation, and every video editor out there is going to hate me. Variation is very important, you know, to YouTube advertising, because you just don't know unless you're testing multiple variations, multiple call to actions, multiple qualifiers, and different types of videos. Now, this same client also said, you know, parents are who we're going to target. Parents are the ones that are going to perform best. Now, as Brian mentioned, you know, I'm the one slicing the data. And what I saw immediately is that non-parents were the ones that performed better, 2x better. And, you know, in telling the client this, they were not, you know, necessarily happy about it. And so they wanted to test a few different parent segments. But what I showed them is that even when you compare the creatives, non-parents went out across the board. So again, sometimes you don't know your YouTube audience if you have a good understanding of your audience on a different platform. And to give you guys the week over week and what happened with the campaign, I think the big thing to note here is that, you know, when we made the change from 10.3 to 10.10, we saw the CPI come drastically down. But more importantly, our click-to-install ratio stayed above 20%, which is pretty promising, because if I back up and you look at social for non-parent, it's up closer to 30%. And so when you're able to affect the results and create click-to-install, click-to-conversion ratios at 30% or higher, you can go back and affect the creative from a CTR standpoint that'll go ahead and boost that even higher. So again, the big thing that I want to get out here, especially from a hacking standpoint, is that creative matters, and you can use it to affect the results, you know, prior to even making any targeting or bid adjustments inside of the actual UI. The next thing that we're going to talk about is audience targeting. And I'm not going to give you guys everything that you guys can find online. I'm going to give you the stuff kind of behind the scenes. But the big thing that I want you to know with this slide is YouTube is great across the entire funnel. It can be used as a conversion tool. It can be used as a branding tool. It's just the different ways you want to make your video and the targeting that you want to apply. But all can be used. The first audience targeting hack that I want to talk about is the YouTube audience. The YouTube audience is so important. And I'm going to say it here. I think the YouTube subscriber is the most important social hand raiser out there. I think it's more important than a Twitter follower, a Facebook fan, or a Pinterest pin, any sort of thing like that. I think the YouTube subscriber, anybody that's willing to raise their hand and say, hey, I'll watch any video content you put up. It'll come in my feed, like I'll see it, like I'm willing to watch any type of video content. I think the YouTube subscriber is a more profitable user than anything else out there. And more importantly, Google is giving you the chance to segment these type of users, right? Anybody that liked the video from my channel, anybody that's commented, shared, subscribed, all these are buckets of users that can be enormously profitable to, you know, a client or an advertiser. But YouTube also has some other things that I think could be used really well, and that's sequential messaging. Taking a video that somebody saw and then showing them another video as a follow-up, or maybe as a follow-up. So again, using YouTube as like a funnel, right? If you show them one video, sweeten the offer a little bit. If they bought one product, show them another product. All of this is possible by targeting specific videos. And then YouTube also has buckets of, you know, viewed video as an ad. And another YouTube hack that I think is very important is using your competitors, right? Every advertiser has competitors, and those competitors have YouTube channels, some bigger than others. why not take the opportunity to run your ad in front of their videos? That seems like a great opportunity, right? That seems like an audience that you would like to get in front of. So again, take the YouTube audience for what it is and maximize that. And then another thing that my retail advertisers have been doing lately, as they've gotten up to 100, 150 million views on YouTube, is starting to negative retarget, okay, anybody that has viewed your ad on YouTube. And what that is doing is that is extending reach, okay? That is saying that as anybody that has viewed my ad, let me put them to a bucket over here, and let me target everybody else. That's increasing reach. And that's mostly for retail clients who are really trying to move people in a store to buy a product. The next type of targeting that I want to talk about is custom affinity targeting. This is new, this is awesome, and I think it is very, very, very unique because they're not giving you a list. They're not giving you a list of interests or a list of in-market segments. What they're saying is, put in any website and type in any word as an interest, right? And then click a button and see what that audience size is. Is it 10 million? Is it 20 million? And then go ahead and target those users. What this allows you to do is be very creative, right? What websites are my competitors, right? Like, make that, one little segment. And then another segment could be, what audience interests, what are they interested in, right? If it's hiking, is it rei.com, something like that. Different interests thrown in there too. You're maximizing Google data by taking advantage of custom affinity. Next, we're going to jump into bidding, which I think is one of the things that is least maximized on this platform. So, I know there's a lot of people in the audience that have bought search, have bought display, and have played in AdWords a little bit. What I can tell you is that the algorithm is very similar. To the right in the picture, you'll see how it kind of works with search. You got your bid, you got your quality score, and your format impact. When it comes to YouTube, we look more at user engagement. How are people responding to your ad from a view rate percentage, average watch time, percentage of video viewed, as well as the CTR, the CPC, and conversion metrics. But view rate, average watch time, and the percentage of video viewed is very, very, very important to how your bid level will be. In addition to that, targeting is also very important because the more that you target, the more granular that you get, the smaller your audience pool. And Google knows that, so ultimately they're going to increase your cost. But taking these into account will help you bid more effectively. So, bid simulator, limited by budget insight, these are some of the key things that I look at when bidding for my clients. So, number one, and something that's very new that Google has allowed you to do, is they've allowed you to now segment by platform. Tablet, mobile, computers, you can just run desktop, you can just run tablet, you can just run mobile. This wasn't possible 6 months ago, so it's very new. But most people think that's just at the campaign level, which is wrong. It goes down deeper than that. It goes down to the ad group level, which gives you another layer of granularity when it comes to bidding across platform. So, a good thing to understand. Number two, the sign limited by budget when running AdWords campaigns. What Google is trying to tell you, spend more money. Spend more money on my platform, you're limited by budget, and the cost per view that you're at, you can spend a lot more, right? What I see that is I can lower my cost per view. I can get a cheaper cost because you're trying to tell me to spend more. And so that's when I start to lower my cost per view, and I start to maximize my spend in my platform and reach even more people. For number three, this is the bid simulator. Sometimes you get this, sometimes you don't. It's on the ad groups tab. And it's not super truthful, but it does give you an estimate. I will tell you though, this is based off a week. It's not based off a day. And that's a mistake some users make. But the bid simulator can be important if you're trying to figure out how much you want to spend for the week. So I wanted to back up, my bidding notes with the real-time case study. So this is a retail advertiser, and what I'm 2015 to 2016, we spent 25% less and focused on driving the most efficient cost per view possible because we knew we were going to reach more people. our cost per view lowered 77%, and we more than doubled the amount of views. So we spent 25% less, doubled the amount of views, our impressions increased 17%. Now, I think that that client made more money in my optimizations than they put into our pocket as an agency. So again, if you're just gonna set it and forget it, you're not maximizing the platform. 20 minutes? Okay, we got a few more. So these are some of the final hacks. There's a lot out there. I think these are the ones that I've been working with most. Let me see. So this next slide talks about click action types, and this is also something that's very new. YouTube just changed its algorithm. So if you click before 30, it's now considered a view. That wasn't like that 2-3 months ago. Another change that YouTube made too is you can't optimize by conversions from the creative level, and you can't rotate creative evenly. I still don't know why they did that, but YouTube is changing constantly, and I believe this is one of the changes to really compete with Facebook. When you look at Facebook, you have an all CTR column which calculates likes and shares and page likes and things like that, so you have multiple click opportunities, and I think YouTube is trying to compete on that same level by also offering more click action types. And so you can click on the avatar, the skip button, the call to action overlay, a card, an end card, an annotation, so much more you can now do. They all have their little nuances, like your call to action overlay is up during the entire video, but really prominent during the first 15 seconds. Your end card can only be for the last 20 seconds of the video. There's a lot of different nuances, but understand that if you're really trying to drive conversions from a DR standpoint, you can do that with a lot of different click types. But in talking about click types, they do have their use cases. And for somebody looking for just video views, right? I just want somebody to watch my ad. I don't necessarily want them to convert. None of those click types make a lot of sense. But if you're trying to drive site traffic, if you're trying to create video engagement, get people to subscribe to your channel, get people to download an ebook, purchase a product, then yes, it does make sense. So again, take advantage of these things with the user in mind, and you'll be successful. Household income. Wow, what a new feature. This is having dramatic impact into a lot of my campaigns, because what we're finding is that if you've got a high value product, if your product costs more than $1,000, the lower 50% is going to have a tough time buying that. But if you can exclude this group, you're going to create more profitability. And so if you think back to a lot of the different charts that I showed you, the different variables that I analyzed, when you start to add these variables one after another, you can start to get fairly granular and make a fairly profitable campaign with video, right? Most people think that I can only run search, I can only run display remarketing at the bottom end. No, you can run video at the bottom end too, but just make sure you're testing, you're analyzing, and you're pulling out the relevant data to make actionable, optimizations to increase results. We talked a little bit about cross-platform and the bid management, and then I will end with a small little Facebook case study. Okay, I know I was going to talk about YouTube hacking, but I wanted to throw this in there. We did some analysis, and I was really geeked about doing this. When you look at the cost per view on Facebook, you're talking about a 3-second cost per view. When you look at the cost per view on YouTube, you're looking at a 30-second cost per view, right? And if you compare those two against each other, you can find that they're around 2 cents, 3 cents. You keep it fairly broad, okay? But what happens when you look at that cost per view at the 30-second mark on Facebook? What you'll find is that it's 10x the amount, right? You're paying 10x times for somebody to watch 30 seconds on Facebook versus 30 seconds on YouTube. So think about your brand. Think about what you want to get through to them, right? If it's a long video, if it's a long format, and you want them to pay attention and follow with your brand, YouTube might be the play. Now, if we take that same study, sorry, I was talking about cost per view on the view rate. So we did the same thing for view rate when it comes to the Facebook and the YouTube analysis. We found very similar results. What we found is that there's a smaller percentage of people staying past 30 seconds. And I think in the test that we did, you're looking at, how many people stayed past 30? I think about 2% stayed past 30 seconds, right, on Facebook. But on YouTube, you only pay when that user gets past 30, right? So again, use the platforms for, what they can really maximize. And this is nothing against Facebook. I'm completely hyped about Facebook. Like, I think Facebook is an amazing platform and has so much room to grow. I just love how both of these platforms are in competition. Both of these platforms continue to change with each other and continue to modify and steal some of their own tools. Nonetheless, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the time.
Appreciate it, Courtney. We're going to switch stuff over